Hello there, Middle-earth strategy battle game players and enthusiasts. Jason here with the LOTR SPG team, and today I'm going to give you a review over the new match play guide that came out back in January from Games Workshop. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in it, some of the scenarios that are in it, and some of the new stuff that has been added to the game. So, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. So what's in the book? Well, for new players, it's an easy way to get the scenarios to play outside of having to buy the rulebook. This is a cheaper version or a cheaper option if you have a friend or somebody that has the main rulebook and you play with them on a regular basis. You can get this match play guide at about a third of the cost. So it gives you an easier way to get into the game and learn how to play some of the match scenarios um, that you see at the tournament scene. On top of that, we also have a news section for doubles events. Now, before, doubles events usually, the one I participated in was at Nova, ran by Devin Marino, which was done really well. And it just took the old scenarios that we had, the 12 of them, and adapted them for 2 players per team. However, now you actually have 6 specific scenarios catered to doubles events. And then on top of that, we also have a campaign event and ways to do a campaign event. So we'll go ahead and just start kind of from the beginning and work forward from there, looking at the book. They have a recommended tournament style for the first few pages. It talks about how Games Workshop recommends you running through a tournament, how to prepare one, how to organize it, scorekeeping, refereeing, rules, so forth, such and so forth. Um, Even gives you an example result sheet you can use for recording results from an event. Um, I actually kind of like this. I might think about using it and adopting it in some of our smaller local events. And some other things it does is it actually tells you about a smart way of of remembering that you have to have like a spare player, which I think sometimes folks forget about. But it's always good to have. When you're a tournament organizer, you should probably have a secondary tournament organizer who can either play in your event competitively or drop out if there's an odd number, which is something that we do a lot in our local events. If we have an odd number, you know, usually I'll jump in and play because our little local events are only 7 to 10 or 8 to 10 people. I think our last one actually did really well. We had 12. So shout out to the Carolina Middle-earth League for showing up for that. That was really great. Uh, but it's something that I think sometimes gets forgotten. You need to have a backup plan if you have somebody not attend last minute, or you just have an odd number of people sign up. So moving on, it talks about um, how long they recommend a game to be for a match play scenario in a tournament setting, which is actually really cool. They break down from about 500 to 1,000 point uh, army limits and tell you uh, how long to play each game, which to me is actually kind of smart because there's always that, all right, how long should we play? Should we have 800 points? Should we be at 2 hours? Well, 700 is 2 hours. Now you're adding extra 200 points, so maybe we should be 2.5. I actually really like the way they did it. It's just a recommendation again. None of this stuff is ironclad. TOs, you have the ability to do what you need for an event to make it your event. So moving on from there, they have added 8 new scenarios into the match play pool, so to speak. And they actually have these scenarios now, all of them, including the original 12 that we've been playing with for years and years, broken down into 6 pools. There's a Maelstrom of Battle pool, an objective pool, a maneuvering pool, hold objective pool, kill the enemy pool, and unique scenarios. So, unique scenarios. First time I saw that, I was like, what? And then I saw what was in there. Fog of War. Yeah, that's a unique scenario. You get to pick and make your own objectives. I think that's actually really cool. So that makes sense for why it would be a unique scenario. So moving on from there, we go through our scenarios, and it's our 12 typical ones that we've been playing for the last however many years they've been around. You know, the good old capture and control, Clash of Moonlight, seize the prize, to the death, so on and so forth. Starting though with the 13th scenario, they have 6 new ones. And I will say, some of them I kind of look at and go, I don't know if I'd ever really play that one, but it's probably a good idea to play it just to have an idea. And some of these are like, oh wow, these are really good. One of my favorites is called Assassination, and I'm not going to get into too much detail about it. Uh, so, but it's definitely one of those ones that's under, I think it's the Killing Pool. Hold on, let me look real quick. I'm going to switch back. Oh, no, I lied. It's under the unique scenario pool. So there you go. A new scenario which falls under the unique scenario pool. If you don't know what it is, I highly recommend going and checking it out. I will say this: we are looking at doing our fourth iteration of our local events in August, and I will be including for all three scenarios we will be doing will include. All three scenarios we will be doing will be new scenarios from this book. There you go. Sorry about that. So moving along in the book, then we get to doubles events, and like I said, this is actually really cool because it helps give you a good sturdy sounding board for what to go through from there. It talks about how legendary leaders work, how legendary legions work, the leader of a force, breaking, and the army itself. So I actually took these. We were going to do a event in May. It was going to be a doubles event, and we had to cancel it just because not enough folks were able to sign up. I think we were looking at like 3 teams locally, and it was like, okay, well, we might be able to get a fourth, and we'll just put this off and maybe try and make it a larger scale event. But I like the idea of having events that are doubles. I know there's been a number of them that have gone, and now that you have specific scenarios to play, um, Dan and Joe and I actually played one, and Dan and Joe played together in a practice because at the time, like I said, we were going to do a doubles event, and Dan and Joe were going to be teammates, and I played against them, and we were doing, what was it, 700 points, I believe was going to be our limit, something like that. So each side would get 350 apiece, and I made a cool little special rule where you can share up to 5 points. So if someone's army list was like 350 or 345, you could give the 5 points to their teammate so they could have 355. Just something cool like that that you can do for these doubles events. And we played one of the scenarios, and it was actually really fun. And I will say they definitely are they're very competitive. They're going to be very tactical. You have to be very tactical uh, because of the way they set up. A lot of them set up where you and your teammate actually aren't anywhere near each other, so you have to be smart and either A, maneuver, or B, have a plan set aside for how to get to each other or survive until your two armies can come and work together. And Dan and Joe's army actually was that. They were combining two armies that would have worked really well together. I won't get into details about what they were because I think they want to keep that one in their back pocket for a rainy day when we do a doubles event. But the weaknesses that one had would have been supplemented by the strengths of the other, i.e., something like a low defense army would have had a high front wall supporting army, or a low fight value would have had a high fight value, something along that lines, or an army that has very little movement helped out with an army that has a lot. Like dwarfs have very little movement, but you could take something like Rivendell Knights, which has high movement. Anyway, moving along. So there's 6 new scenarios, and they talk about how scoring works and all of that nature. And then, like I said, there's specific rules at the beginning about how legendary legions work, how you choose your leader and break it. All right, moving on, we have campaign events is the last part of the book, and the campaign events. I'm sorry, it's the second to last. I just realized there's another section. Um, the campaign event is a way to. I'm just going to use an example. I know Matt Iverson up north near New England does this once a year for Shadow in the East, and he does like a good versus evil, and he sets it up so that there can only be one version of named heroes in the campaign, which is pretty cool. So I think this is kind of set up for events like that, where it's good versus evil. So basically, you're trying to split it up, good versus evil, as even as you can. I would imagine that if you can't do that, that you would just group someone as an evil player. But you're basically fighting over Middle Earth, and they have 6 regions: Eredor, Rohan, Rovania, Mordor, Haradrith, and Gondor. And each region has a bonus while playing in it. And then if you capture that for the rest of the campaign, you get another bonus. So by the end of the game, say you were to do all 6, by the end of the game, you could potentially have 5 bonuses if you're doing really well. And then the overall winner of the campaign is whoever has won more regions. So I would imagine that to keep it simple, you would always have an odd number of scenarios. So 3 or 5 would be my thought, in order to have a decisive, clear victory. So that way you go into round 5, yep, two aside, or round 3, yep, 1 aside. Whichever one wins more this time will be the decider for winning Middle Earth campaign. Um, excuse me. But yeah, I thought that was really cool that they had that, and I added some bonuses too, which multiplied the more regions you controlled. And finally, there's an additional rules section at the back, and it kind of covers ways to do tiebreakers, and then their recommendation for how to score for events like major and minor victories and all of that. And there is, oh yeah, there's some secret objectives too. I forgot about those. I read this a while back and forgot all about them. But secret objectives, there's some stuff that you can include in your event to kind of help play along. Something that you can use these secret objectives as a tiebreaker. You can use these secret objectives kind of like a way to give away raffle tickets for winning prizes at your events. Stuff of that nature. But yep, that's the book in a quick nutshell. Quick, nerdy, or nitty-gritty, dirty nutshell. I really like it. Yeah, again, if you're a new player and one of you already has the new rule book, you can go ahead and be like, all right, you play in your group and you have one person has a rule book, and be like, all right, I'll go ahead and get the match play guide. That way we have the new scenarios that we can play with. But really like it. Really like the fact that Games Workshop went ahead and put some time and effort into coming up with something different and new, and listen to the feedback, because I think there was a lot of feedback wanting something like a tried and true or actual scenarios for a doubles event. And then something like, again, like I said, I know Shadow in the East every year does a good versus evil campaign, so it's really cool that now you have some objectives to try and help boost your armies while you're playing in that campaign. As always, thanks guys for subscribing. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. We will be continuing along with our Rohan at War campaign here in the near future, and I know we're working also on our next season of Battle Class. So until then, guys, have fun with your hobby. Stay sane out there.